All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore a really cool new way to make sense of our own lives. And it's not about finding some single grand purpose, but about actually mapping the rich, complex, and totally unique story that is you. I mean, think about your own life for a second. Does it feel like a straight, predictable line? Probably not. For most of us, it's more like this winding, sometimes messy, tangled journey. We're moving through different places, different jobs, different relationships. But what if there was a way to see the structure hidden inside all that beautiful chaos?
Well, there's this new approach called the world of activity that gives us a set of tools to do exactly that. Seriously, it's like someone handing you a mapmaker's kit so you can finally chart the terrain of your own experiences and find those hidden landmarks that give your life its unique shape and meaning.
Okay, so if we're going to start mapping, we need our tools, right? There are 4 essential concepts we need to grasp. These are the things that are going to help us move from just, the day-to-day chaos to a clear, structured picture of our lives.
First up is flow. Just think of this as the moment-to-moment experience of being alive. It's the raw material of your story. Your job, the conversations you have, your hobbies, all the little things that just happen. It's the river of life that we're all constantly swimming in.
Now, out of that giant river of flow, our next tool helps us find a little bit of direction. It's called focus. This is the moment you start to notice patterns. A theme starts to pop up. You suddenly realize, hey, I'm really interested in this topic, or, I keep coming back to the same idea. Focus is when your attention and your intention start to zero in on something specific. And when a focus deepens, when you really commit to it with sustained action, it becomes a center. It's not just a passing interest anymore, it's a real project, a core practice, maybe a huge part of your life that you're actively building and curating. A center is like a stable anchor in your whole world of activity.
And finally, of course, we're not doing any of this alone. That brings us to our 4th tool, the circle. See, no person is an island, and neither is a center. A circle is the network that starts to form when your creative centers connect with other people's. This could be anything, a professional community, a book club, a cultural movement. It's where your personal map literally links up with the wider world.
So those are the tools: flow, focus, center, and circle. But what's really fascinating is seeing how they actually work in practice. So let's take a look at how this framework can map a real person's life journey, all the way from childhood to midlife. So this timeline shows these different stages, or what the framework calls forms of world of activity. It kicks off in the simple, single-center world of a hometown, where home is everything. Then life expands. Maybe you move to a new city for school, an alien land. After that comes domain, like your professional career, where your identity gets shaped by what you do. And then maybe you move again to a foreign land, which forces this deep cultural reset. Each stage completely reorganizes the map of your life.
But here's the really wild part. Even as the content of your life is changing like crazy, new cities, new jobs, new people, the underlying structure, the way it's all organized, often stays remarkably consistent. Across all these different forms, a super common pattern pops up: the dual center structure, where life is basically organized around 2 complementary poles.
And the most common pair is the surviving center versus the thriving center. The surviving center covers all the stuff you have to do: your day job, your coursework, the things that provide stability and pay the bills. But the thriving center, that's where you really grow. It's that passion project, that poetry club, the thing you do just because you're curious and it makes you feel alive. A healthy life map, it seems, has a good balance of both.
Now, as we get older, this dual center structure can actually evolve with us. By midlife, it might transform into a kind of dance between a reflective center and a constructive center. You might look back on a decade of work and start to develop your own personal theory about it. That's reflection. And then you use that incredible insight to build a whole new framework for your future. That's construction. It's a really powerful way to turn your past experience into your future actions.
And this brings us to a really beautiful idea, that a personal center, something you create for yourself, maybe even when you're young, can ripple forward through time and actually become a legacy for the next generation.
To see what I mean, just listen to this message the author wrote to his son. It's all about how these poems could inspire courage and faith. And the story behind these poems? It's the perfect illustration of how our personal project can become a shared legacy.
So, get this. The gift was a 2025 calendar made from a collection of poems he wrote called Chapter of Chess. And he wrote them way back in 1993, when he was just 19 years old, at a really uncertain point in his life. Decades later, when his own son got super passionate about chess, these old poems suddenly found a brand new life.
You see how this all connects? This whole process is what the framework calls a thematic enterprise. It starts with a personal center, the poems. That center then gets embodied in a thematic object, the calendar, and that creates an inheritance circle, the shared family experience, a tiny little culture that connects a father and son across decades. That's how our personal project becomes a legacy. It's amazing.
So all of this brings us right back to you. Because this isn't just some abstract theory for analyzing somebody else's life. It's a practical, hands-on set of tools for understanding your own.
So let's recap the big ideas here. First, your life has an underlying structure. It is not just a bunch of random events. Second, you can actually identify the centers, those core projects and passions that give it shape. Third, these centers are going to change and evolve, but they weave a continuous story through your life. And finally, as we just saw, what starts as your own personal map can become a guide for others.
So, I'll leave you with this question to really think about. What are the anchors in your own life? What are your surviving centers, and what are your thriving centers? What's on your map? Because finding them, well, that's the first step to truly understanding your own incredible journey.